across the States in a couple of weeks and then around the world. And I hope in Canada, with your all's help, we're launching this big tour we're calling Do the Math. We're going to do 20 cities in 20 nights. Naomi and Avi and Toma will be there for some of them. As we try to launch, really get sparked a kind of divestment movement around fossil fuel to get our campuses first to sell their holdings in companies, in fossil fuel companies, just like 25 years ago. Just like 25 years ago, when Winona and I were in school, the fight was to get them to sell their holdings in South Africa. And it worked. When Nelson Mandela got out of prison, first place he came was the US, and he did not go to the White House. He went to the University of California to say thank you to students for pressuring them to sell $3 billion worth of stock. That's one of the fights for us. We've got to take on the fossil fuel industry directly. It's really important to keep fighting these terrible projects one at a time. Keystone and the Gateway and the Kinder Morgan pipeline and Trailbreaker through the east and big coal mines in Australia and shale gas in the eastern US. And all these fights are important, but we're not going to do this one pipeline or one coal mine at a time. We're either going to get real structural and systemic reform. We're either going to break the power of the fossil fuel industry or they're going to break the planet. Those are the two possibilities. And what I feel like tonight and right now is that we're going to win. It is amazing to see this movement coming alive. Now, when we, just 15 months ago, though it seems like a long time ago, when we asked people to come, Clay and Naomi and others, to come to Washington and get arrested at the start of these Keystone thing, we had no idea if anybody would turn out, you know. But it quickly turned into the largest civil disobedience action in the US in 30 years. 1,253 people arrested. Now, and one really good thing that I want to tell you guys, just to sort of make it clear that you're not alone in this fight, when we did it, we all said we don't think college kids should have to be just the cannon fodder for this whole thing. We think everybody should participate, especially since, you know, once you're past a certain age, what are they going to do to you? I mean, you know, no worries at all about arrest records and things like that. And so it was really great to see people respond to that. When we were, we didn't ask people, how old are you? That would be rude when they got arrested. But we asked, who was president when you were born? And the two biggest groups had been born in the FDR and the Truman administrations, okay? So your elders are at least beginning to follow your call. And I was in Nanaimo last night with 800 people from the Council of Canadians, most of them older, and all of them very charged up. There were 5,000 people in Victoria on Monday, most of them doing their best. Most of them doing their level best to get arrested. And there were so many of them there that the police could not arrest them, okay? So that's what we want to see. It was amazing to see that, and it is amazing to see brave people all over the continent and all over the world. 350.org works in every country on earth except North Korea, so I can testify straight up that that's what's going on everywhere. Look, in Texas right now, there are people up in trees and people in jail trying to block the southern leg of the Keystone pipeline. In British Columbia, there are people doing amazing things led by First Nations people. I was the last couple of days with Reuben George and Caleb Bain, and last night Chief Dan White at Nanaimo gave his introduction in his native tongue, and then he translated it. He said, what I just said in essence was, no goddamn way there are tankers coming through our waters, okay? Every place this is happening, and with great heroes. One of the things that made this week really happy was not just seeing Toma, it was getting the news that Tim DeChristopher, who went to prison for 2 years for his bravery in standing up in Utah, got out of prison into the halfway house in Salt Lake City this week. But it's happening everywhere. Our 350 crew in India in 2 weeks has this huge India Quit Coal Day with demonstrations all over that continent, and you name it, it's happening. Only thing I want to say to end is, don't for a minute let people pigeonhole you either as young or as, extremists of some kind. I know that Mr. Harper has been doing his best to say that all this trouble comes from extremists, usually foreign extremists, that are causing trouble for him. And I don't believe it for a minute, because I think he's talking about me when he talks about foreign extremists. And as it happens, I lived in Canada as a boy. I spent my elementary school years in Leaside, in Toronto, and Northlee Public School, exactly 1 year behind Stephen Harper. Same teachers, same classes, same everybody. So it's one of these like experiments, where they... Here's the thing. We're not extremists. We're not radicals. Not in the least. We're asking for a world that works something like it's worked for the last 10,000 years. Stephen Harper is the extremist. The radicals work at oil companies. If you are willing to get up in the morning and amass a fortune, and these guys amass a larger fortune than anybody on the planet, if you're willing to do that by altering the chemical composition of the atmosphere, then you are engaged in a more radical act than any human being before you. And our job is to stop them. I'm not certain we can do it, but every day that passes, as this resistance builds around the globe, I get more and more confident. And looking around this room tonight, I gotta say, I really like the odds. I look forward so much to fighting with y'all. Thank you so much.
Hey, Bill, after you're done hugging Naomi,